Hi, Andrew here from The Investor's Way, and welcome to day 29 of my 30-day video challenge where I've been sharing information on money and investing and trying to help you in your financial freedom journey and your money goals. And to help us spread that message, don't forget to like the videos, share them, and leave some comments and let me know if the information is helping you. And if you've got a question, running out of opportunities to get it in, but put it in the comments box, and I will address those if possible in the remaining days of videos. So today a question came in from Jane, and she asked whether or not she should fix her interest rates now or remain on variable rates. And this is a fairly difficult topic to be very specific on for individual advice. So I'm going to keep it rather general and give you some pros and cons of each. So if you look at fixed interest rates, there's quite, an attraction at the moment to consider locking in a fixed rate, because globally interest rates are very low and historically low, and so there is a feeling that now is a great time to fix them in. So things to think about when it comes to fixed interest rates is, and firstly the main one that I'll say is that the banks very rarely lose when it comes to interest rates. So fixed interest rates are already priced at a level where they're higher than variable, and more than likely the banks will continue to win when comparing fixed with variable over the coming years. So that's the first thing to keep in mind, and it's not necessarily saying that to deter you from fixed interest rates, because there are, and I'll explain them in a minute, reasons why you would consider fixed rates. But just keep in mind that the banks very rarely lose when it comes to fixed rates. The other considerations to have with fixed rates is that it gives you surety. So if you've got investments that are leveraged and therefore you're using borrowed money, then surety of payments is something that is good for peace of mind when it comes to investments. So it may well be that that surety is something that gives you peace of mind and enables you to prepare your future spending and income flows, and just get a good understanding of where you're going to be in the coming years, so that interest rates don't become an issue for you. So that's a pro for fixed interest rates. Another one is that, or another consideration to have, is that with fixed rates, it's normal that you're not able to make additional payments. So if you were to come into some money, or your circumstances change with your money, you're not able to make additional payments to bring that debt down, and so that can also be a burden when it comes to fixed interest rates. So keep that in mind. And then when we flick across to variable interest rates, the things to consider there is obviously they're at historical lows, and so people are taking advantage of that at the moment. And the flip side from what we've just said about fixed rates is that with variable rates you can make additional payments. So that gives you that flexibility to be able to reduce that debt if your circumstances allow, or if you were to come into some money and you wanted to put a lump sum down, then with a variable rate you're able to do that. So that's one of the advantages of a variable rate. One of the cons, I guess, is that if variable rates start to rise, then your cash flows are impacted, and you need to make sure that you can manage with your leveraged investments if those rates do continue or start to rise. So we recently saw an interest rate rise in the US, which will flow through to investment loans, and the general consensus is that the rates are more likely to go up across the world than they are to keep coming down. So variable payments are going to increase, and so you need to be able to make sure that you can manage your investment investments with higher interest payments. Another thing to keep in mind is that they are at historical lows. So if you are thinking about changing from variable to fixed, it's likely that the fixed rates you'll get offered are as good as they're going to get. So keep that in mind. And then one other thing to keep in mind is the possibility of doing a little bit of both. So a lot of banks will enable you to split your loans and maybe pick a percentage that works for you, where part of it is fixed, part of it is variable. But keep that in mind as an option. And the other thing to keep in mind is the term. If you're going to go fixed interest rates, think of the term. And this is a really important one, because if variable rates start going up and you're in a fixed term of maybe 3 years or 5 years or even potentially longer, and rates are quite high when you come out of that, that's going to make your investments and your leveraged investments substantially more expensive. So you need to be mindful of what might happen over the next 3, 5, 10 years, whatever the period is that you're going to lock them in, of when you finish that period, what you'll do next. And that's a difficult question to answer, because nobody knows what's going to happen. But be mindful that as you come off that fixed rate, you'll likely revert back to variable. And if rates have increased substantially, then you will be paying a much higher rate at that time, which clearly goes against what I said before about the banks rarely losing. But it's something that you need to be mindful of, is just what rate you might be exposed to when you come out of that fixed loan term. So there's a few things to keep in mind in deciding whether or not to go fixed and variable, or a combination of both. And I hope that helps you, Jane, to decide which way you want to go, if at all, with fixed interest rates. So Andrew from The Investor's Way, I'm dedicated to your wealth, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Cheers.